Okay, so today we're going to learn how to make a subtalar neutral casting, slipper cast. And as you can see, I have my patient positioned where the posterior part of the foot is, or the heel, is facing straight up or on the horizontal. And I am going to mark a line on the calcaneus. I'm going to bisect the calcaneus, if the pen works. Just so I have a reference line of the calcaneus position inside the cast, because it'll transpose itself. And then I take fast or extra fast plaster of Paris, 6 inches, and I am going to drape it from metatarsal head to metatarsal head, fold it once, make sort of a double sheet, and then rip it off. And then I typically will fold the ends to give it some more stability along the upper part of the cast. And I'll make 2 of them. Metatarsal head to metatarsal head. Fold it over. And fold. Okay. Alright. So, I have the person laying prone, feet hanging off the edge, bisected the calcaneus, and if I wanted to mark anything else, so let's say a metatarsal or a painful metatarsal, I could do that. So if the second metatarsal head is painful, we can mark it. If there's an area that I want to put a pressure or relief, I could mark it. Otherwise, I just make the cast. Alright, so I'm going to take it, dip it in the water. I usually use warm water. I squeeze it out, unfold it, and I start with draping over the heel. Okay, and I bring it down to the sides. I typically fold in the medial portion first, and then fold over the lateral portion. And just sort of work the plaster of Paris in. Sometimes if it's not wet enough, I'll just put a little bit of extra moisture on it to really work the plaster of Paris. Okay. Alright, when I feel like I have that in the proper position and in good contact, I do the next one. Squeeze it out. And I go from the toes. I will typically do the lateral portion first and press it in against the foot and conform it. And then bring up the medial side and fold that over. So I'm overlapping each piece. And I usually connect the pieces along the top edge on both sides. Okay. If I need to add a little moisture, I add a little moisture. Okay. And I just keep working it in. Just make sure we activate all the plaster of Paris. So we sort of rub it in, get it moist, get it to conform to the foot, and then I'll show you the last part. Just be relaxed. I'm going to then grab the 5th metatarsal. I'm going to palpate and find subtalar neutral. Okay, so I have my forefoot deformity in here, in this casting, and what I'll gently do is I'll gently flex the toes, because our patient here doesn't have the best arch in the world, so I'm definitely going to add a little arch. I'm maintaining her I'm maintaining her forefoot in the casting, So she does have a 4-foot varus, and when you do flex the toes, you take it out a little bit, but there's plenty there to work with. If I wanted to make sure that she had a transverse arch, I will sort of put a little pressure with my thumb and then sort of work that area a little bit so I have a nice impression, so I get some support behind the metatarsals, particularly if you have somebody that has a neuroma, or you have somebody that has metatarsalgia, that you can add that to the cast, so when we do the fabrication, we have a nice transverse arch in the proper location. And the next thing we do is we kind of wait for it to be dry. Okay, and I'll just keep working it. I think this is fast setting, so it takes a little longer than extra fast. Sometimes I find extra fast a little too fast. So, I'd like to have something in between, but we don't. All right. No, relax. Just relax. Okay. And we wait for it to dry. About another minute, minute and a half. All right, just hold your foot there, Ellie. Okay, we have our cast, it's dry. What I'm going to do is take it off, and it's very simple how to remove it. What I typically will do is just pull up on the skin, and you'll feel a little sort of release going on between the skin and the orthotic. And then what I gently do is gently try to wiggle it off. Okay, there we go. And pull it off. And the heel creased a little bit. I'll just push that back out. And essentially what we do is we have a very nice slipper cast that gives us a negative impression of this patient's foot. If you can see in here, there's the line from the heel is here. So when I sit my cast up in the lab, if you take a look at the forefoot, you can see the metatarsal head that I circled there. So I have all this, and that I could darken and transpose onto my positive cast. So I'm going to paint this with liquid soap, and then I'll let that dry. Then I'll do a certain positioning technique, and then I'll mix plaster of Paris, pour it in. It becomes solid in a very short period of time. I let it dry for an hour or two, then I peel this layer off, the plaster of Paris bandaging, and I have a positive mold. And that is it.